Hello and welcome to another episode of TV Enthusiast Weekly Podcast, Marvel vs. DC vs. TVE. I am your host, Will Rohrig, the Keeper of Comics. And joining me tonight is the Editor-in-Chief of TV Enthusiast, Tyson Gifford.
Hello, everybody.
Alright, tonight we are going to discuss the season finales of Arrow and Flash. Now, the other shows we regularly discuss, as you know, already had their season finales. So these aired later, so we're going to do Flash and Arrow tonight. Oh boy. So let's get started with the good stuff. Let's do Flash first, cause I want to talk about this. This wasn't an amazing finale, but I thought it was pretty decent. It wasn't like as mind blowing as like the last season's finale, but like something like pretty crazy happens at the end of it. But I want to get to talking about this because this was a good finale, unlike that other show. Yeah, basically this episode picks off right after the end of the last episode where Zoom kills Barry's dad in effort to make Barry so angry he becomes like Zoom. Understandably, Barry is pretty freaking upset about the death of his dad to the point where he chases down Zoom and actually corners him, and then it turns out to be like Zoom created another time remnant.
Another plot hole,
and this time remnant stuff is, don't even try to think about it, your brain will hurt. It's pretty bad. It's one of those, you just have to accept it.
Because plot,
yeah, exactly. So afterwards, Zoom challenges Barry to a race to see who's the fastest. Like, Zoom wants to know who's the fastest of them, which that seems like the stupidest plan in the world. That's like,
he does have an actual plan.
He does have an actual plan, but at first, as far as like, it's not revealed, so you're like, so you're thinking, okay. And maybe next you could race Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, right? See who's the fastest. But yeah, so that's Zoom's plan. Everybody's like kind of confused by it, cause that doesn't seem like much of a plan for like anything. But Barry's like determined. Barry's like, oh, well, doesn't matter. I'm gonna race Zoom and I'm gonna win. And then they quickly determine that there's an ulterior motive. They quickly determine that there's this machine Zoom has been building that has the power to destroy the entire multiverse, like every Earth. Not just like the Earth that they're on, but like the entire multiverse it can destroy if Zoom has enough energy. And the only way for Zoom to get enough energy to do that much damage is to use the energy from him and Flash's speed combined.
Because he couldn't just use his own speed, but charge for longer, or?
No, I don't. I don't.
Because plot.
I don't think his speed would be enough. I don't think this is legitimately not just plot. I think it makes sense that he would have to use the combined speed force of both speedsters to do that much. Like, you're talking about destroying multiple Earths. I think that would.
But even still, like,
yeah.
So he just charges it for longer, you know, or like it feels very because plot to me. The whole thing does. I mean, the idea that there's this dimensional cannon that'll destroy every multiverse, like infinite multiverse Earth.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you go like, oh yeah, maybe it's not enough for one of them, but would it really be enough for two? If two do it? I don't know. It's a very contrived plot.
You have a point. It's plot, and it's fine because it's like the kind of ridiculous, like goofy shit like comic books like do constantly.
Yeah.
So it kind of like doesn't even faze me. It's like it's like okay, I can run with that. That's fine.
It's pretty much taken straight from a Flash comic, isn't it?
Oh, geez, I don't know if it is, but there's some things. We'll get to that. Yeah, basically Barry is like all super emotional over like the death of his father that like the team worries like he's being irrational and he's gonna do something irrational. And so they decide to lock him up to keep him from hurting himself or others or doing
Rip
something like,
Barry, long live
yeah,
Barry.
yeah, right. They lock him up and they lock up Barry and then Joe turns around and says, "Hail Hydra." And then Barry says, "That's not even in this universe."
And then Joe says, "Shut up, Carl."
Yeah, shut up, Carl. Yeah, they all decide to, even Cisco, who says like he thought about it. You know, but Cisco agreed to have Barry locked up. So like Barry's thinking like everybody betray him. And then they come up with a brilliant plan that they don't need Barry to stop Zoom. They can go stop Zoom all by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they come up with a plan that they could have executed at any point in the season, really. Where they lure Zoom to they find out where Zoom's hideout is. They lure Zoom out using Caitlin as bait, and then they knock him into a portal back to Earth 2. Only he ends up grabbing because like Joe was supposed to use a gun to like use these tranks on Zoom.
But the gun jammed because
plot. But instead of going, but Joe, for his credit, instead of going, "Oh no, gun jammed, guess I can't do anything now," he just takes like the tranquilizer or whatever it is and he runs up and he like stabs Zoom with it. Like it's totally awesome. But then like Zoom grabs him when he's being pushed into like the portal to Earth 2. And so now Zoom has Joe. And like everybody's like, "Well, Zoom has Joe, but we can't go get him, so let's just roll with it."
See, it's another kind of ridiculous thing. If he tranked him, if that was enough to get him over there and he tranked him, and yeah, he pulled Joe in, but it's not like he'd show up in the other Earth and just be fine. Like, he should have shown up in the other Earth and Joe should have been able to just, like, shoot him in the head and kill him.
Yeah.
Because he'd be knocked out.
Yeah, but plot.
Yeah, magically, Zoom's awake and Joe's asleep.
Who knows? Yeah, I know, right? Magically, Zoom's awake. But their reaction is like, "Oh, well, forget Joe." And then Wally's like, "What the hell? What are you talking about?" They're like, "Oh, well, Joe's in Earth 2. We can't go back, so forget him." And Wally's like, "No, that's retarded. Like, Joe's my dad. I'm gonna go get him."
And what's the point of blocking Zoom on Earth 2 now that he can just punch holes in dimensions anyway?
Yeah, I know, right? That doesn't seem like... I know, they didn't think about that. So Wally like finds out they have Barry locked up, and Wally's just like, "What the fuck?" Like Wally's like, "What the fucking all over the place?" He's like, "What the hell is this shit? What are you people doing?" He's like, so Wally goes and he sets Barry free, and then that's when Barry like convinces they decide like, "No, the race is going to happen. I'm going to erase Zoom and win, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop me." And so basically they go to like the race to race Zoom, and basically they race around, and then Barry steals a trick from Zoom. Barry uses the time remnant trick to beat Zoom. And there's like this really cool part at like the end of it too with the time remnant, because like the time remnant like ends up dying. And it's like the exact same way like Barry Allen dies in like Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Mm-hmm.
like a Crisis on Infinite Earths, like Barry is like racing until like there's literally nothing left of him and he's dead, and that's basically what happens to like this remnant. And it's like, I was like, oh snap, how did they manage that? It's like I never thought like they would manage to like get Barry Allen's death from on Infinite Earths into the show for like very obvious reasons, yet they still did it.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Well, not kind of, because that actually was Barry, because Barry explains it's a past
It was a Barry.
It was a past version of himself that he brought to the future to die for him. Well, that sounds fucked up. But yeah, he's like explaining this, like he's like, no, that actually was me, you know. I'm like, so like that's actually Barry. And then like Wally's like trying to make sense of this time remnant thing, and then basically the conclusion was like, no, don't try to make sense of this. Stop it. It's like
thinking's bad.
I love to see where Wally is like trying to make sense of this whole time remnant thing, and basically the answer is like, don't overthink it. Stop it. And it's like
stop overthinking things.
Yeah, stop overthinking things. I felt like that was maybe like the show's writers poking fun at themselves, because they kind of realized that this whole time remnant stuff is bullshit that they didn't have a good explanation for.
Maybe get back to hard science, like freezing lasers and what was that? Charging the polarity of the presents that are explosives, so they all.
The episode ends with like we finally get the reveal of the masked man that Zoom had been holding hostage, and it turns out to be the real actual Jay Garrick. So Jay Garrick is not a secret supervillain. People can calm down.
A certain DC Comics employee can calm down.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, it's the real actual Jay Garrick, and even more mind blowing is he is a doppelganger of Barry's dad, and
not from Earth 2,
but Earth 3. Actually, Zoom stole him from Earth 3. Now, what's interesting is like they telegraphed this last episode. In fact, they telegraphed this last episode in the scene where Barry's father casually tells him his grandmother's maiden name was Garrick.
Yeah.
which means that Barry, like Henry Allen's name, would have been Garrick if that wasn't his grandmother's maiden name or some crap. I don't know. But
if his mom had him out of wedlock.
Yeah. I don't know. But
if he was a bastard.
If he
like
was
Jon Snow.
Like Jon Snow. But basically, yeah, Henry Allen was a Garrick, so that means that this version is Jay Garrick, the actual Jay Garrick, who, surprise, is the Earth 3 version of Henry Allen. This like really fucks with Barry like to the nth degree. Like he cannot handle it. He just can't. And it's like Earth 3 Garrick adopts Zoom's helmet for his costume. And then he announces his intent to return to Earth 3, but before he does that, he takes Wells and Wells' daughter back to Earth 2. And they all leave. And then Barry, not being able to deal, he has a heart-to-heart where like with Iris, where like Iris is like, "Oh, I'm ready for you, Barry," and he's like, "Well, I'm not ready for you."
And they eat a street lamp together.
Yeah. And then Barry does possibly the stupidest thing he could possibly do, which, feeling all hurt over the death of his father, he runs back in time and saves his mother from being killed by Reverse Flash, thus starting Flashpoint. If you don't know what Flashpoint is, go look it up. It's amazing.
So, season 3, we're going into Flashpoint material. With what's interesting is how is this going to affect the connected universe?
Some people were saying because obviously you can't like base like the plot of season 5 of Arrow around like what the fuck Barry did in the finale of The Flash. That wouldn't make any sense to do from that standpoint. So people think it'll probably be like Barry created another Earth or an alternate Earth, and it'll be like a bubble universe that just exists on the Flash TV show for as long as that season is running.
I mean, that could make sense. Or it could be, the effect could be mostly localized to the happenings in Central City.
Yeah.
With maybe a few changes.
But this does answer one key question. We know that the actor for Captain Cold just died in this season of Legends of Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But the actor is still signed on to do more CW, Arrowverse shows.
All of them.
he's signed on to do all of them. Well, as far as Flashpoint is concerned, that would now make sense because now they can bring him on to be Citizen Cold, who is actually Central City's greatest hero in the Flashpoint universe.
Huh.
Yeah.
That would be kind of interesting.
And that would be fun to see, like that actor portraying Citizen Cold, which they're definitely going to do this. There's no way they're not doing that. That's going to be fun to see. I love it. That guy always hams it up as Captain Cold, and I just love it. So I can imagine him hamming it up even more in this role.
We just got to see McRory as Captain Heat.
Yeah, I know, right?
So yeah, it was a good episode. Enjoyed it for the most part. I do like those kind of what the hell endings where anything can happen afterwards, because it's okay, well, he changed something fundamental, now what? That kind of ending I do like. It reminds me a little bit of the season 5 finale of Lost, where Juliet set off the nuke, and then you just see the screen goes white.
God,
then you're I have no idea what's going to happen now.
Oh that was amazing. That was oh my! Don't even get me started on Lost.
But it's just the idea of okay, we got kind of the what happened, and we know it's going to have this cosmic, larger than life effect on everything. We just have no idea what that is.
Right, exactly.
So that's kind of interesting, and it's interesting just because it's connected to all of these other universes, or all these other shows. How, if at all, they're going to connect. That's what's really interesting about it. So I do like that.
I'm wondering if they're going to go for that.
I think they will, but to a limited degree.
In the Flashpoint universe, Felicity is the Green Arrow. Actually, in the the Flashpoint universe, Felicity is the most important person to the plot.
Maybe it'll go the other way, and she'll just be completely unimportant.
Also,
because they have made her too important already.
Also, what's interesting about Flashpoint is anybody who reads the comics knows that Reverse Flash is a major character in that storyline. Reverse Flash is basically is practically responsible for Flashpoint, or for getting Barry to the point where that occurs. So we saw Reverse Flash in the finale there. So will Tom Cavanaugh return as the Reverse Flash in the season?
Or will it just be a completely different portrayal and have the actor who played Eobard Thawne in his actual appearance?
In his actual appearance. Maybe we'll get Flashpoint Universe Wells.
Yeah, we'll get actual Earth One Wells as helping Barry against actual Eobard Thawne.
Yeah, that's gonna be so cool.
There's lots of cool things they can do with it. it'll be fun to see what they choose to do.
It'll be, yeah, definitely. I'm excited for it. Flash continues to be goofy, nonsensical, but very fun.
Best of the DC shows.
Best of the DC shows. I really like that they really go for those big ideas. Like Flashpoint is huge. And I thought after the cop out, like after season 1, where they were kind of like teasing that, and then Barry was like, "Nah, I'm good." I thought they weren't gonna go there, but now they're like, "F it, we're going there," and I'm like, "Oh damn!" So yeah, Flash continues to be good. I'm definitely watching next season.
Unfortunately, something else was on that does not continue to be good.
Now we got to Arrow. This was Arrow's last big chance to redeem itself for this season. It's the finale. You know, season finales is supposed to be awesome, full of great moments that make you, excited to see the next season. I don't even think this season had, I don't even think this episode of Arrow had, a good, ending, to even suggest what the next season would be or to even, make you care about it. Other than,
yeah.
Guess what, guys? More Felicity.
And everybody left but Felicity, so we're gonna get even more Felicity! Check under your chairs! You get Felicity! You get Felicity! You all get Felicity!
Yeah. Oh my god, this thing. Oh geez, where do I even start with this episode? I can't.
Let's just start talking about the Felicity problem in general.
Let's talk about, we gotta talk about the actual episode too, because, so basically, what the big thing is, Dark is still scheming to destroy the world, even though, that means he'll die, and, everybody else, apparently he doesn't give a shit anymore. He just wants the world to burn in a million nukes.
I was kind of cracking up when, Thea threatened Dark's, daughter with an arrow. And Dark was like, fine, and, gives her a big hug, and then has a moment where it's just him and her. It's like, fine. I'll do anything to stop you from killing my daughter because I'm going to be the one who kills my daughter.
I know, right?
With the rest of the world by nuking everything.
But then he rationalizes it if he's killing her with nukes, it's a mercy killing to save her from, the world or some bullshit. I don't know, how, yeah.
At that point, just fucking kill yourself.
Oliver stands up, gives a pep speech to a bunch of rioting citizens. It makes the news.
He had to get a little pep speech himself from Mr. Terrific, though.
Oh yeah, it makes the news. Everybody realizes how great Oliver Queen is, or something. That was pretty boring. Oh yeah, the nukes actually launch. They launch all 1,500 nukes, and then there's they launch. And then one's coming right after Star City, but that's okay because Felicity redirects it. Redirects it to where? The show never says. Where'd all the other nukes go? Nobody did anything about the other 1,500 nukes the entire freaking episode. They never stopped them.
I also love how
they redirect one nuke and the world is saved. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense. Arrow writers, you're lazy.
I also love how they were the way to stop the nuclear launches from continuing beyond that point. Felicity finds her old boyfriend and convinces him to give up, knowing that that's going to kill him. That Damien Dark is going to kill him in a horrible way by giving up. And it's not like he does something to undo what he did. He just takes his hands off the keys to give up. And that's all that had to happen. And then he has to die this horrific death. And then Felicity can gain control of the computer. Why didn't she just shoot him and put him out of his misery? He was already dying. He was already shot and bleeding. Because when Felicity found him, he was already dying. The only reason he was continuing with that stuff is because he was going to receive a horrifically painful death if he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So she could have just killed him on the spot, and he would have, like, gone out with mercy and it would have resolved the situation. No, instead she has to take, like, 20 minutes to talk to him about being a hero again and getting him to give up on his own so that he has to face a horrific death instead of a painless one. It's just nonsense on top of nonsense.
It's just nonsense. Like, the last fight in this is so stupid. It's like Arrow fights
Batman Rises.
Oh, it's worse than that. It's like Arrow, like, fights Damien Dark, but, like, the fight choreography is just brain dead at this point. They're just, like, punching each other. And, like, and it's stupid, too, because, like, Dark's like, I was trained by the League of Shadows. Now I'm gonna, like, awkwardly punch you. It's like, wow, that's how two people trained by the League of Shadows fight, really? Yeah. Like, zero fight choreography. I like that. Yeah. And it's like, okay. And then, like Damien Dark's winning because of his magic, but then, like, Oliver gets, like, all the people who were rioting before stand up behind the Green Arrow. And, like, they stand up to Damien Dark, and that fills, like, Oliver with, like, hope and
magic.
love. Yeah, hope and love magic. That's so he's able to defeat Damien Dark.
Speaking of hope and love magic versus Damien Dark, I love when it went to Felicity and Oliver was talking about how she's like, I thought you had a way to defend against his magic, and he's like, well, it's too much now. He's taken over 10,000 souls with that, and it's too much. I can't fight against that. And she's kind of like acting like hurt, like, what, thinking about me isn't enough to...
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was stupid as hell. That was like, again, that's like overplaying Felicity's importance in the show. And it's like the writers just like indulging themselves. It's like Felicity's like, you were able to stop him before by thinking about me. Am I suddenly not enough? Me. It's like, how is thinking about me not enough to stop Damien? I'm the greatest character ever. I'm like the best character on the show. I could take down Damien Dark with my love magic. I don't even need you anymore.
The best way this episode could have ended is right at the beginning when it picks up with Damien Dark showing up at Felicity's house with Felicity's mother. If Damien Dark just showed up and killed them both.
Yeah, but they got they got plus 1,000 plot armor that even Oliver Queen doesn't have. So yeah.
I would have been so awesome though. It's like I was cheering when Damien Dark was holding Felicity's mom up by the neck.
Oh my god. So Oliver ends up defeating Damien Dark. He kills Damien Dark, saying like he doesn't have a choice. Damien Dark brings up Deathstroke and how Oliver let him live.
Which I think is kind of a mistake, because it just reminds audiences, oh yeah, Arrow used to be good.
I know, right? Remember when Arrow was good? And Oliver's like, I remember. Now you die. Pepperidge Farms remembers. Thea decides to leave for reasons. I totally forgot what her reasons were. Something of...
Oh, it's because she threatened to kill Dark's daughter.
Oh yeah, because she threatened to kill Dark's daughter. So Thea decides to leave. Diggle decides to leave over the guilt from Andy and the stuff that happened with Andy. That guilt is still eating Diggle up to the point where he decides to leave. And then Oliver is just in like the Oliver like Arrow cave, whatever you want to call it. He's just in there looking at Laurel's costume, you know. And it's this nice moment where like there's like another moment too. He's at like Laurel's grave, you know, and then Felicity has to be there. Why
on both of those scenes?
On both of those scenes, yeah. If Felicity interrupts, it's like, why can't we have one scene about Oliver and Laurel without freaking Felicity showing up? Like, why does Felicity have to be there at all? But Felicity shows up at the end of this episode with like the most insulting thing ever, because after we got two great characters deciding to leave the team, Felicity just waltzes right up and like Oliver's like, what are you doing here? And she says, oh, thought I was gonna leave? Not a chance. It's like what?
I got punched to the audience.
Yeah, like not a chance. It's like,
when we think about the tragedies this season, it's not going to be the death of Hodor or the death of Shaggy Dog on Game of Thrones or any of the other shocking, crazy moments that have happened, like the deaths and moments in The Magicians and all these other crazy stuff. It's going to be not a chance.
Not a chance. I was like, wow, that was like so clearly like a big FU to like the people who just don't, like, I would say, I don't hate, at least I didn't start out hating Felicity on this show. I thought, you know, she served like a niche as like a supporting character, you know, pretty decent supporting character for the show. But they blew her up and made her so important to the show. Like, and in the process, they made her character more and more obnoxious in the process as she became like more of a major focus. And so, and it felt like it's to the point where it's affecting the show. It's stunting the show. Like, I would say like half of the plot for this, oh my god, yeah, this is freaking, I can't remember if this like happened this episode or last episode. No, it was like half the plot for last episode was just centered around Felicity and her family issues, which really had nothing to do with like anything like moving the plot forward for this episode, except for like some dumb the nukes are going to relaunch themselves. So that just seemed like it was giving Felicity something to do, and some reason to focus half the episode on her instead of just letting the plot determine whether Felicity gets any focus or not. Like, they're literally writing the show around her now.
I used to like Felicity as a character. I've said this before. It's when she first came in as you said, as kind of like this awkward supporting character. She kind of fit this archetype that we see a lot. You'll see it like, you know, you watch any kind of procedural, like a Criminal Minds or something. There's like the tech person that wears glasses and is kind of quirky, and you know what I mean? And she was like that archetype, and she was fine in that role. And then they tried to kind of like expand that role into something bigger. And now the sight of her makes me angry.
Now it's just a show. Now it's just show about her. So that seemed like, for people who like do not like the direction that they're heading with this character, or the direction that they're clearly in with this character, people who don't like that, like, they just gave them the big middle finger, announced that they're going to keep doing it and it's going to get worse, and too bad. You know, because there's this fanatical like segment of like the fan base that absolutely loves this character and wants to see this character be the star of the show. It's like, okay, so they're totally catering to that segment of the fan base, and anybody who wants to watch a show about the Green Arrow can go kick rocks.
If you wanted to watch a show about the Arrow, you should have been watching a show called Arrow.
Yeah, you should have got. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
I guess like this will be Felicity like season 6. Felicity season 5 next season.
Well, the one thing we got as like a piece of setup for next season is that Oliver Queen was sworn in as mayor.
Yep, Oliver Queen is now mayor. Another thing borrowing a plot. Like, with all this Felicity crap, I almost forgot about that. It's like, because I forgot, Oliver Queen becomes mayor. That's the setup for next season, and Felicity is not going anywhere. So, I mean, that doesn't scream like exciting season of television. You better watch it. It's like,
what they're going to do is they're eventually going to find a way to make Felicity mayor.
Yeah.
And she'll be the Green Arrow too. And she'll still be running all the computer tech stuff.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm done with this show. I'm not watching this show past this point. I'm sorry. Like, season 3 was okay. So my thought process going into this was season 3 was bad. I was disappointed with season 3. I was disappointed with the trends we were seeing with season 3, especially Felicity getting more obnoxious that season, and where that was as they paired her with Oliver, and how like she was getting more obnoxious. They were making her more of a Mary Sue character. That started in season 3, culminating with her like in a freaking piloting an Atom suit to save Oliver. That was like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But that happened. And so I was just thinking that was awful. Like, season 4 was the season Arrow had to redeem itself, where they had to rein that in, say, okay, we get you. We went a little overboard in season 3. We're going to rein it in. We're going to make this more of an Arrow season. Get more of that.
Opposite way.
It just went they just like doubled down on it to the point where like they had to like throw in a huge FU to the fans at the end of like the episode regarding it. And it's like, really?
Yeah, it's just shit.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'll probably still watch maybe like half-heartedly out of like morbid curiosity about where it goes. But, I watch everything, so that's not really a big change for me. My hope for the series is gone though. Like, I no longer, I think that even if they made the series awesome again, it's so damaged by this point that like that would linger in the back of my mind throughout any improvements they'd make.
Yeah,
like, I think it's irredeemable at this point.
It's irredeemable. This was really its last chance. I'm not gonna watch season 5 on Arrow until like somebody comes along and says like Arrow is like amazing. Like,
and then you say like, really, how is it amazing? And they say, well, Felicity's just got even more screen time.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, nope, I'm not tuning in next season. I'm sorry, you're done, Arrow. I'm done with this show.
So this ties into an announcement we got to make here, which is that this is going to be the last regular episode of TVE versus Marvel and DC. It's not just because the seasons are coming to an end, where we'd be stopping anyways, but we've decided that we're just going to talk about these shows on our general podcast, and then we'll do occasional episodes of TVE versus Marvel and DC to talk about big events, like maybe the crossover episode or one of the Netflix series.
It just became like an issue where it's been too taxing. You're following 4 shows regularly, plus whenever a Marvel Netflix show happens, you got a huge episode dump right there in the middle of trying to follow 4 shows. And if we wanted to do this properly, Supergirl's coming to the CW now, so that would be 5 shows. It gets to, and then 6 with Agent Carter. Actually, it gets it gets to a point where it's just a little bit much to do. And especially like when you're covering other shows, like we have a Game of Thrones podcast. That's Game of Thrones ran concurrently with these shows. We still have a regular general podcast due every Thursday. We need material to talk about on that.
So we're still going to be talking about stuff like Flash, for instance. Probably not Arrow, but Flash. And probably Legends of Tomorrow, but we'll talk about them on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe in a little bit less detail than we're talking about here. But yeah, it's just a matter of getting our time together, and it's also just, I just don't think either of us really want to devote screen time to talking about Arrow anymore.
No, definitely not Arrow. But yeah, I mean, this we'll do this for like major events, maybe finales, mid-season
the big crossover episode.
Definitely the big crossover. They're supposed to do like a big Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Flash crossover episode. We'll definitely do a special for that one.
And then, like, you know, when Luke Cage premieres in September.
Luke Cage premieres, we'll do one for that. But yeah, this being like a regular weekly thing, I can't. Like, this was the first time doing this, and we just found that in the process of doing it was actually more taxing than I had bargained for at the outset.
Yeah.
And so, no desire to do it again next year.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll continue to talk about some of the better stuff like Flash, like in our podcast. So you can check that out. That's the Weekly Set podcast. It's on any of the podcast clients like iTunes. You know, just look up TV Enthusiast, the Weekly Set podcast, and you should find it. And we'll be talking about that as well as other stuff we talk about on that podcast. Like right now we're talking about Peaky Blinders, and in the past we've talked about like The Magicians, and so we'll talk about that kind of stuff as well. And we'll just talk about it in a little bit less detail than we do here, and it won't be video, it'll just be audio. But then again, big event comes along, maybe for the season premieres, I don't know, maybe for the season finale, definitely for the crossover. We'll talk about all of that for that. You know, we'll do one of these again for that.
Yep, definitely.
One other thing that kind of has happened recently this week is that we've known for a long time that the DC movies were kind of interfering a bit with DC TV. You know, the most obvious thing was like way back in the Smallville days, they couldn't use Batman because, you know, and then the whole reason we have Arrow is because they wanted to do Batman, but they did Arrow instead.
So really, so basically, Willa Holland came out and said that because of the Suicide Squad movie, a lot of their plans like had to be changed. Like there were plans to use the Suicide Squad in season 2. They did that sort of with caveats.
But they wanted to develop it further in season 3.
They wanted to develop it further, but they couldn't because of this movie. Like they had teased Harley Quinn. They never ended up using Harley Quinn because they couldn't.
They had to kill off
they had to kill off Deadshot. I mean, this was pretty much known for a long time. Willa Holland's like main complaint though was that they're not casting the CW stars in movies, which I was just like, lol. I was just like, yeah, okay. Like as great as I think Grant Gustin is, no way they're going to cast him in Justice League. They're not.
It's not they got like a big name. I mean, they did Urza Miller. You know, it's not like it's a huge name they got to play the actual. You know.
Well, yeah, no. No, I knew they weren't going to like start like casting CW stars in like big budget movies.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, well, Marvel, even though their universe is actually connected, you don't see anybody from Marvel TV shows in any of these movies either.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see like the actress who plays Skye in like Civil War. So, you know, it's like, you know, they got that too. It's just the way the business works right now. You know, you gotta.
Although I think if DC did go that approach, maybe they'd get a little bit of a better reception than they've been getting with like Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I think so.
Because at least Flash has some levity to it, whereas like Batman versus Superman had none.
Yeah, I know, right? Batman vs. Superman had zero levity. It's crazy. But like her main point, like I don't know why DC does that. Like it's totally illogical. I mean, because like we got that, but at the same token, we have a Flash TV show. Flash is going to be a major character in the Justice League. Or is DC going to tell CW to cancel Flash? I don't think that's happening.
It's kind of like it's almost like a fuck you to the TV medium.
Yeah.
Basically saying like, no, you can't use Deadshot because we might use him in a future project. Oh, you already used Deadshot? Okay, well you have to kill him off now. You know, you had other plans for him? Too bad. Oh, we see that you already have the Flash. Well, we're going to do a Flash, and it's going to be the same character, too. It's going to be Barry Allen as well. No, we won't cancel our movie. No, we're going to do it. You just have to deal with that. So it's like this weird double standard.
I don't know.
If they can have a second Flash, then why can't they have Suicide Squad in Arrow? You know,
it doesn't. There's
a double standard.
I can't make sense. There's no rhyme or reason to it at all, really. That's a legit complaint. I don't think having access to those characters or using those plans would have made Arrow any better or worse than it was.
Because as we've been talking about in this podcast, the real damning aspect of Arrow in seasons 3 on is Felicity.
Yeah, I can't wait until Warner Brothers tells the Arrow producers they can't use Felicity anymore because they plan to use that character in a movie. Oh wait, no, that's never going to happen.
If only.
Yeah, if only. But no, because like they were going to use Harley Quinn, but then they ended up introducing this character Cupid, who is like very similar to Harley Quinn, like a Harley Quinn-ish character. And I figured that's just another character, like that's how they would have portrayed Harley Quinn on the show anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Harley Quinn was an Arrow. It was just this like tiny cameo.
Yeah, like they were
just kind of like saw the back of her head and heard her voice.
Yep, exactly.
That's what it comes down to. It's getting it's turning into an ugly debate, and there's some news coming out about it, like, you know, is the DC film universe killing the DC TV universe? Is it hindering it and stuff? And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of arguments you can make about stuff that's just not fair that DC film is doing to DC TV and the kind of double standards, and that is legit. It does suck, and it's bullshit. It does suck.
It's existed for a long time, actually.
But what's killing Arrow isn't that. That's not what's killing Arrow. What's killing the quality of Arrow is Felicity.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, like they're over the producers. Felicity isn't killing Arrow. The producers like over exaggerating Felicity's importance in the show, like really like Steve Urkeling the show with her. Is what's killing it.
Is like the Steve Urkel of.
Yeah.
When are we going to get, like Steve Urkel had like what, Stefan or whatever, so they're going to have
they already have evil goth Felicity, so they're going to do that.
Felicity.
Oh god. So that wraps it up for another episode of Marvel vs. DC vs. TVE. Join us this Thursday for our regular podcast. That will be hosted by Tyson Gifford, and I will be joining him for that. We will discuss episode 3 or 4? Episode 4 of Peaky Blinders. So look forward to that. Other than that, you can catch our Game of Thrones show that is recorded.
Just went up. The most recent one just went up.
Yeah, that is recorded every Monday evening. That goes up every Tuesday. And that's all. Do you have anything you want to plug?
No, just that. Yeah. Thank you everybody who watched and paid attention to this show.
Yes,
we're sorry that it's going to become a regular.
I know.
We're sorry that it's going to become a regular, but it's just kind of for the benefit of our general coverage on the site, and that's being able to do more with the time we have.
Yes.
So I think it's going to end up being for the better, if only because it means we don't have to drone on and on about how much we hate Felicity every episode.
Exactly. In fact, you won't hear anything else about Felicity unless she appears like on any of the other shows I'm watching, because I'm not watching Arrow. So I won't be ranting about Felicity because I'm not watching that.
But that's pretty much it. So thank you everybody for watching, and watch all of our other shows. Subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to our RSS feed for our podcast, and check out our website, TVEnthusiast.com.
Good night.
Night.